her behaviors were increasingly erratic, out of control, attention seeking, manipulative, oppositional, dangerous. I was trying to keep my daughter safe, but really, I could see I was making things worse. I started to feel how painful that would feel to her.
Welcome to BPD Alliance, the podcast, where research and real life meet around borderline personality disorder. I'm your host for this episode, Andrea Gold. You may not be surprised to learn that BPD is one of the most stigmatized mental health conditions. But what you may not realize is how much of the stigma lives in the language that we use. Labels like manipulative, attention-seeking, out of control. In every research study that's compared conditions, people with BPD are the most likely to internalize this language as part of that person's identity. Our guest today, Marie-Paule de Valdivia, is both the mother of a daughter with BPD and a DBT therapist herself, someone I refer to every day for families looking for help with BPD. And 20 years ago, she used to use every one of these words before she learned. Marie-Paule, what did you want for your daughter?
I wanted her to suffer less. And at the same time, I will tell you, I stigmatized her because what I could see were the behaviors. That was very tangible, right? It felt like the behaviors were intentional. My daughter was supposed to come home at a certain time and wouldn't show up until the next morning and would go into lengthy explanations as to why. It made perfect sense that she couldn't have come home earlier, and how I was absolutely out of my mind having such ridiculous expectations about the time at which she should come home, and how I really needed to let her live her life, and she was right and I was wrong. And, that feels very intentional. That feels oppositional. That feels dangerous. So the M word comes, it's manipulative, right?
So as a mom, it sounds like you use the M word. You used manipulative before.
And I thought it all the time. I thought it all the time. Of course. Of course.
And I imagine that just made it harder and added to suffering.
Other words came up. Do you want to hear my other words? Oppositional, out of control. Out of control was probably the word I used the most, which was very reflective of my reality. Dangerous. Her behaviors were dangerous. Obsessive was a word I used, and attention seeking. People threaten to hurt themselves, and we say, oh, they're just looking for attention. I suffered for a year and a half. Now, let's not forget, my daughter suffered at my hands for a year and a half. I didn't know that. I was trying to organize myself around reducing the suffering by changing her behavior. I was trying to control her, and I was absolutely useless at it. It's really hard to communicate acceptance and caring in those moments, even when acceptance and caring and love exist. It's almost impossible. We're sort of stuck there, and it's a place of hell.
Marie-Paule, I know that from talking with you, it was around this time of the struggle that you learned about your daughter's BPD diagnosis and what BPD was, and you were finally able to get her an effective treatment. When you got into that treatment, you also learned about BPD Alliance's Family Connections course. What was that like for you?
For me, as a parent, when I took the class, I experienced it as a miracle. It was a 12-week class just for relatives of people with borderline, and it was focused on psychoeducation, on skills, on support, just for us families, just for us. I started to learn to be mindful and to remain curious through learning some of the skills and starting to understand a little bit where my daughter was coming from. I could see how the words oppositional or out of control or attention seeking would cause so much shame when you were at the receiving end of that. And when you were labeled that, that's not what you did. That's who you were suddenly, or that's who my daughter was at that point. And I started to feel how painful that would feel to her. I could sense it. So both as a parent and as a clinician, I can emphatically say that it takes training to let go of these labels and to move towards a curiosity kind of stance and a benign kind of stance, right? To understand the behaviors that we see from the other side. All we see is the negative side, and it makes sense. They're big behaviors. But on the other side, there's a lot more to see, and it takes training to see the other side.
Okay, now I want to know about your evolution. This transition point where you went from being a mom, working hard to help your daughter to learn what you could about BPD and reduce suffering for her, for you, for your whole family, and where you became a licensed clinician, where your focus has been to specialize in treating BPD. Tell us about that.
What I noticed as I continued to sort of grow in this world of borderline was that parents and families in general, spouses, etc., continued to be kept at arm's length. Even though DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, which had been created not very long prior by Marshall Linehan, was really making inroads, it wasn't really used for families. It wasn't, and I could see that. And that really, I really sort of thought that there was a missed opportunity there. So I went back to school and I became a clinician. And after I graduated from school, I started this program, Families on the Line, where we both clients, people who struggle with the disorder, and when they're open to it, their family members. And of course, now things have changed a lot. Family members do find help and support much more easily than they did then, which is wonderful because it turbocharges the treatment. The gift of that hard work, if you choose to do it as a parent, as a family member, as a clinician, is that you get to see and connect with that other side for people who struggle so much. And that other side is magnificent. There are unique qualities that resides there. The resilience, the persistence, the courage, the creativity, the empathy. They're amazing people that we have the opportunity to live with and work with. For me, working with people who struggle in this way is a joy.
You shared you got stuck in the stigma. You shared you got out of it. I wish it was a one-time thing, but unfortunately, I think you're gonna tell us it's not one and done. It's more like rinse and repeat again and again, isn't it?
It really is.
So that's gonna take intentional practice. Once you got out of stigma though, Marie-Paule, what helps you notice when you fall back in and help you stay out of it?
Yeah. And I suspect different people may have a few different approaches to that, but we probably all sort of circle around this notion that our loved ones, for those of us who are family members, our clients, for those of us who are clinicians, at all times are doing the best they can, the best they can. And sometimes the best they can looks really, really bad. Like I remember a dad, this was not a client dad, this was a family connections dad, who looked at me and said, "But how low does the bar get? Is breathing low enough? Like breathing is the best they can do?" And yeah, sometimes breathing is the best that they can do, just breathing, because the alternative is really not good. I we make this assumption that people are trying as best they can, and sometimes their best try really sucks. It's really awful, and it can, I'm here to bear witness to the fact that their best can suck for about a year and a half, and or probably more. But for us, it was a year and a half of really groping around in the dark. My best sucked for about a year and a half as well. Let's be clear. It's okay to flunk. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to, of course, we're human and we try harder and we do better. And that's how we make progress. That's how it's going to be okay. So, that you asked me, how do I get out and stay out of stigma? I always have in my mind, that's the best they can do in this moment. In 10 minutes, they might be able to do better. In a day, they might be able to do better. But right now, this is the best they can do. It's no longer, and I want to emphasize what I'm about to say, it's no longer an issue of character, it's an issue of behavior, right? You're doing the best you can. It's not your being a wonderful person. It's your doing in this moment. And we're doing the best we can.
Let's give our listeners some homework, a way to practice this skill.
When I first started teaching family connections, in class one, there was a list of 5 assumptions we can use in order to be more effective. And at the time, it was ordered as the second one. Remain benign. Interpret things as benign. And in that group, as we were talking, we sort of joked that it would be helpful to have a little mantra. And we made up a mantra right there on the spot, which was a little sing song. And the sing song went, benign, benign, benign. In any moment, when things are coming at you fast and harsh and difficult, and it's hard to remember that this is not character, this is behavior, they're doing the best they can, take the benign, the generous interpretation. Be generous about this. Try to not take things personally at all. Try to disregard whatever comes across as personal. It's hard. It takes practice. You can choose a less benign interpretation. You can choose to say, my spouse is being a total jerk right now, but that will be more costly to you than if you say, look, benign, 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 my spouse is struggling a great deal right now,
But what if I feel like they don't care about me or they're not giving me what I need in the moment?
right? How painful is that,
Yeah.
right? They don't care about me. My spouse doesn't care about me at all right now. And you know what? That actually may be, in fact, true because your spouse in that moment may be suffering so much that it's really hard for them to think about you. They're doing the best they can. And in 5 minutes, the best they can might change a great, great deal. But right now, it's the best they can. So help yourself. Don't think about what they're doing. Think about you. Make the generous interpretation.
Well, the way you just said that compared to me saying they're being a jerk, right? The way you said it, though, brings up a sense of compassion.
And less judgment, right? We're back to this character versus behavior. He's being a jerk is behavior, is character. He doesn't have room to think about me right now, is just behavior. It's a big emotion, is overwhelming his brain. We have research that shows that if there is one supportive, one validating person in the life of someone who struggles that way, they can do significantly better, even if they're not in treatment. Now, I'm not saying forget treatment. Treatment is phenomenally effective for many, many, many people who struggle with this disorder.
The data, Marie-Paule, you said one. Did I hear you right? Just one person?
One person,
Wow.
one validating person in the life of somebody who struggles in this way.
That gives me hope. And I wanna close by asking you. You mentioned hope a couple times, moments of hope amidst moments of pain. What words of hope do you have for our listeners today?
Hope is interesting, isn't it? Hope is interesting because I remember vividly my daughter when she was 7 years old, and I had all sorts of hopes for her. I wanted her to be happy, and but there was a sense of direction. There was some hope that I was attached to, and where we are today is beautiful. She is doing a job that she loves, that allows her to be independent. It's not easy being her. The disorder is, does extract a big toll on her life. Could she do more and live an easier life if she didn't have this disorder? Absolutely. But is she living a wonderful life? Totally. And are we so close? And is she one of my favorite people in this world? Totally. So we get there, right? But we have to, in order to get there, we have to let go of the hope that we had manufactured before. So there's this sense of reality acceptance and radical acceptance in order to get to a hope that is aligned with what life might deliver for us. There is hope. There is a great deal of hope. It will be okay. It will be okay. We have to work on the skills. We have to stay with the skills, and then it's okay.
Marie-Paule, thank you so much for sharing your personal story and inspiring us with your wisdom. And thank you to our listeners. We hope that something from this conversation resonates with you. You can find more information, wisdom, and resources in our show notes and at bpdalliance.org. Together, we're working to build a world where emotional wisdom prevails. This episode of BPD Alliance, the podcast, was hosted by me, Andrea Gold. The series is a volunteer production made possible by the work of our wonderful, dedicated team: Julie Chesley, Diane DiMartino, Abby Ingber, and Zanny Stavert. With music by Elizabeth Scott. BPD Alliance is a nonprofit with a 4-star Charity Navigator rating. To learn more or to support our mission, visit us at bpdalliance.org.